Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And today we welcome in Barry Tramel for his 10th appearance on the show.
Yes, he's been with us 10 times. This is his 10th time, and the other 9 have just been outstanding. That's why he keeps getting asked back, and we're very appreciative of his time. We've titled this show Sports Update. Barry's going to come in and talk to us about all things Thunder and fall college football.
We will get ready for college football today, and also, as Kent mentioned, talk about the Thunder and the busy off season that they've had. It's all coming up today on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
My name is Eric Smith. I'm a bow maker, and I am Chickasaw. I got a phone call, and they said, we're making a movie, we're interested in some bows and arrows. So when they told me that they were going to try to do everything in this movie to be as historically accurate as humanly possible, I knew that I wanted to be involved. And then when The Revenant went on to win many Oscars, I was very pleased. They represented us in a beautiful way. Every time I go to the woods to collect materials, my mind often wanders and I think, who was here before me? I'm doing the same thing that my people did hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. I've always been very aware that I was Chickasaw because it is a great nation. It was, it is, and I believe it always will be.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Well, as we mentioned in the opening segment, our guest is once again Barry Tramel from the Oklahoman. Barry is a lifelong Oklahoman, grew up in Norman, went to the University of Oklahoma, got a degree in journalism, started his journalism career basically at the Norman Transcript and was there a good number of years before driving 20 miles north to join the Oklahoman. He has been at the Oklahoman quite a long time. He's been on our show, as we indicated, 9 times before today, so we really don't need to introduce him except just to thank him for coming back and giving his time. We really do appreciate you being here, Barry. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Great to have you, Barry. Now, we're taping this show just a few days before it airs, so there's a chance that the Thunder could do some additional changes in its roster, but it's been a fairly effective offseason.
Oh, wow. They had a great week from this period of 164 hours, 9 p.m. Friday to 5 p.m. the next Friday. They, you make the Paul George trade, you add Patrick Patterson, you add Raymond Felton, you sign Andre Robertson. They really solidified this team and elevated it. Thunder's back in the business. Probably can't win the NBA title. Can say that about every team. It's not the Golden State Warriors. But they're back in contention for the Western Conference Finals, for being an elite team, and really it's sort of reinvigorated the whole notion of the direction of this franchise.
Why were they the best option for Indiana?
Well, Indiana, I'm not sure they were, but Indiana liked the trade package. A lot of people, Victor Oladipo, people think he was overpaid, but 4 years, $21 million a year, $84 million contract. But Indiana liked that contract because of the 4 years. Victor Oladipo's a good player. He's a young player. He's still getting better. And the Pacers know that they've got him for 4 years. And that's important when you're rebuilding. You've got fixed cost and you know what you're getting. So, that Victor Oladipo contract was very enticing to them. Plus, Domantas Sabonis, only 21 years old. He has a bright future, and he's got a lot of potential. So it wasn't a bad trade for Indiana in terms of 2 pieces they think they can build with. They would have liked draft picks. Everybody wants draft picks, but that dried up a little bit with the Celtics, and no one else was really offering or had much to offer. So that's why the Thunder moved to the front.
What's your take on Westbrook and the likelihood or lack thereof of him signing his new contract?
I think there's still a good chance Russell Westbrook will re-sign this summer. I think the Thunder's confident he's going to do that. You know, the efforts of the Thunder organization in the last week or two has shown that the Thunder is not bailing on contention. They're going to get in there and swing. And you know, I think we saw it with James Harden the other day. He signed the new extension. I think Russell Westbrook is of the same mindset. It's possible he won't sign. He could sign the same kind of contract next summer. But the Thunder's fairly confident he's going to sign. You know, last year he could have signed at any point the extension. He waited until the first week of August. So I don't know that there's anything in the timetable right now that should alarm anybody.
Yeah.
Well, he knows it's there waiting on him, so he can do it at his leisure.
There's no negotiation to be had. I mean, whatever he wants, up to the max. I mean, he can just name it, and that's it. So
whatever the collective bargaining agreement permits.
It seems like we've entered an era, maybe we've been there for a while, and it just took me a little bit of while to realize it, but we've entered an era where you almost have to build a team 1 year at a time because the players have so much leverage that most of the really top players have it out on an annual basis.
We're seeing, especially with the superstars, now not necessarily with James Harden the other day, but we're seeing shorter contracts. You know, LeBron has been doing that. Kevin Durant's doing that in Golden State. They're signing 3-year contract with the 3rd year an option for the player, or a 2-year contract. What they are doing is they're holding the franchise's feet to the fire, trying to make sure that the franchises continually to upgrade that roster. We're seeing superstar collections where the stars are forming together, sometimes manipulating it themselves and deciding to play together. And it sort of keeps franchises from just sort of coasting and saying, we got a great player, lead us to victory. The superstars are saying, hey, we want you to continue to invest and build up this roster.
I heard something, and I can't even tell you where, and so it may not be reliable, but that has never stopped me. I heard that Kevin Durant had some nice things to say about either the Thunder organization or Oklahoma City to Paul George. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Sports Illustrated got a hold of Paul George out in California before he came to town on Tuesday, and Paul George said he reached out to former Thunder players to just see what am I getting into. You know, he doesn't know anything about Oklahoma City. He knows the Skirvin and he knows the arena. He said, that's what I know. I've been to the hotel and the arena. He said, that's what I know about Oklahoma City. But he reached out to Reggie Jackson and he reached out to Kevin Durant. And Durant said, you're going to love it there. The franchise is first class. Everything's done in a big time way. They treat you great. The fans are great. So Durant was very complimentary of the Oklahoma City experience, and Paul George said, I was very encouraged by that. Of course, here in Oklahoma, we say to Kevin Durant, if it's so great, why don't you leave? But, you know, that's a story for another day.
All right, new element in Patterson. It looks like he's going to be a starter.
Yeah, you know, Patrick Patterson's a good, solid player. He's nothing flashy. He's nothing special in terms of he's not a star. He's just a good, solid role play, can play pretty good defense, can shoot the three as a power forward, which really is something the Thunder has needed. So that was a hole. You know, you lose Taj Gibson and you trade Domantas Sabonis, and that went from sort of a crowded position to a thin position. So Patrick Patterson signs. The Thunder has not been very prolific in free agent signings over the years. In fact, we were talking, if people remember the old center, Nenad Kristic. He's probably the Thunder's most prominent free agent signing ever.
Wow.
Sam signed him on New Year's Eve 2008, and he spent 2 seasons and was a good, solid center for the Thunder. That's the best free agent signing Sam's ever had. Until now, Patrick Patterson probably moves to the top of the list.
One intriguing option is putting Cantor and Adams in the lineup at the same time, but that never seems to be the desired first choice. Why is that? Why doesn't that work?
Well, it works against certain teams. The NBA is going small, more mobile players. You know, traditionally NBA teams have used 2 big men at once. Not necessarily as big as Adams and Cantor, but 2 primarily post players, people that don't necessarily stay out beyond the 3-point line. That's changing, and now many teams, not all teams, but a lot of teams are using the more mobile lineups. Adams and Cantor can't guard that kind of lineup. Cantor primarily.
Right.
So For
So
instance,
against Houston.
Houston, Golden State, Cleveland, teams that just spread the floor and one guy's inside but four guys out there trying to find an open three. That puts Cantor in a compromising position, or Adams. San Antonio, go back to the West semifinals in 2016. Adams, Cantor played a lot together because San Antonio plays a more traditional lineup. So you'll see it during the regular season, but in the playoffs, depending on who you're up against, there's a chance that Cantor's value goes down. Doesn't make him a bad player, and it doesn't make him less valuable in the regular season. A lot of talk this year that this summer we're going to trade Enes Kanter. Well, the Thunder was able to retool this roster without trading Kanter. That's actually a great thing because he does a lot of damage in that regular season, but his value might slip in the playoffs.
I guess he's the leading scorer off the bench, is he not?
Oh, he's a fantastic bench player. He's been mentioned 2 straight years as a sixth-man candidate, Sixth Man of the Year candidate.
What can you tell us? Let's go back, take a step back to Patterson. What can you tell us about his background before coming here?
He's from Huntington, West Virginia. Calls himself a country boy, which, Oklahoma City and Huntington, West Virginia, not a lot in common, but we're also not New York or Toronto. He went to the University of Kentucky, was a solid player at Kentucky, and has played in Houston and Toronto primarily, spent a little time in Sacramento. Just a good, solid player. He has a pretty good history with Billy Donovan. Billy coached at Marshall University in Huntington, went back and tried to recruit Patrick Patterson pretty heavily. Apparently became pretty good relationship with Patrick and his family. The lure of Kentucky was too strong. He went over there instead of to Florida with Billy, but Billy at the press conference this week was thrilled to have Patrick Patterson back. He seems like a very professional guy. Not a flash, very solid in just his demeanor and the way he plays. I think he's going to fit in pretty well with the Thunder.
Houston, Clippers, Thunder, how does all that shake out in the preseason predictions? Where do you put those teams behind Golden State?
Well, I think the Thunder has moved themselves up into the discussion with San Antonio and Houston to challenge for second. Now, the Thunder is coming from farther behind. San Antonio won 61 games. If you look at the Thunder roster and the Spur roster, you'd probably say, hey, I like the Thunder. And then you remember San Antonio has won 50-something games for 20 straight years, and they've averaged 64 wins the last 2 years. So I'm not going to throw dirt on the San Antonio Odyssey until the Thunder jumps them. I'll have the Spurs ahead of them. But the Thunder's at least in the discussion with the Spurs and the Rockets. In this past season, the Thunder was basically fighting for fourth with 4 teams, but now they're fighting for second with 2 teams. So that's a major jump in one off season.
Yeah. Barry Tramel's our guest. We've been talking about the Thunder. Next segment, we'll talk more about college football. Barry Tramel, right back.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers and our guest today, Barry Tramel. We're going to talk about college football, and Oklahoma has a new head coach.
Lincoln Riley takes over. I tell people about big news days in my career. Anytime Oklahoma loses its head football coach, that's a monumental day. Anytime Oklahoma gets a new head football coach, that's a monumental day. Back on June, I think it was June 9th, both happened in the same day. So that was a crazy day, but 18 seasons of Bob Stoops. The era is over, and Lincoln Riley, basically a seamless transition, just took over. And the Sooners have a nice history of promoting from within and doing extremely well. Chuck Fairbanks, Barry Switzer, Bud Wilkinson, all promoted from within and all with great success.
You have very close ties to the OU and OSU football programs. Did you have any sense that this was coming?
No. I knew Stoops wasn't going to be a lifer. I knew he wasn't going to go Bobby Bowden or Joe Paterno on us. I didn't think he was going to coach at 70, but I didn't know that in summer 2017 is when he would step down.
Yeah.
But it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think Bob has a lot of pride in the program, and what they've built and what they'll do after he goes is important to him. And I think he thought everything was in place for a great transition. He had a guy that everybody rallied around, Lincoln Riley, got a quarterback returning in Baker Mayfield, picked to win the Big 12. So I think that was important for Bob to step down when the program was riding high. So in that sense, it makes it's sort of clear that that was going to be what he was going to do. He wasn't going to step down when things were rocky.
Absent disastrous injuries, what are reasonable expectations for OU this fall?
Well, I mean, if I was a Sooner fan, my reasonable expectation would be the college football playoff. I mean, they're really good. They're picked to win the Big 12. If you're picked to win the Big 12, you ought to have an 80% chance of making the playoff, because there's 5 champions and 4 slots, and you know, the Big 12's been on the outside 2 of 3 years, and at some point you'd think the odds would come around to them. Now, the game at Columbus, go to Ohio State in September, that's going to be tough. If you lose that, you know, then it's a little bit tougher to get into the playoff. But, you know, I like to think positively. If you win it, you know, your chances of making the playoffs are much better. So, you know, if the Sooners can just, you know, have another great season and take their chances, I like their chances of getting into the playoff.
Ohio State dominated them in Norman last year. Is Ohio State going to be that good again?
Well, I assume. I didn't think they were going to be that good last year. They lost a bunch of starters, but Urban Meyer's on that track of, you know, just retooling, and you know, his second team is just waiting for the chance to go to the NFL itself. So they're going to be very tough. You know, J.T. Barrett is back for his 3rd year at quarterback. He and Baker Mayfield are the winningest quarterbacks in college football. So they're going to be very tough. You know, if you look back at that Ohio State game, the Buckeyes did dominate the Sooners. I'm not sure there was as much reason for that as later on we found out that Ohio State was not the physical marvels that we saw in Norman that night. You know, Clemson just whipped them all over the field in the playoffs. But you know, Sooners gave up 3 touchdown passes to the same guy in the corner of the end zone, and I think there's some things Oklahoma can do to narrow that gap, but it's still a fairly sizable gap.
There was a time in our lifetime when, you know, Oklahoma dominated the then Big 8 in football, but the other sports didn't seem to seem all that important. And now you look at some of the other sports, and Oklahoma is nationally relevant in a number of sports. What do you attribute that to? Because I mean, it isn't easy to have so many sports so nationally prominent.
Well, OU won 4 NCAA titles in a 2-month span this spring. So what's gone on, a great leadership from Joe Castiglione with a direction for the program, hiring great coaches, but also the infusion of money. This is, you know, Bob Stoops got here in December of '98, immediately revitalized the program, got things rolling, and it's been more affluent and lucrative financially than ever before. And that money has been pushed in some directions to the other sports. OU has won more NCAA titles in Bob Stoops' 18 years here than they won combined in the ever how many years before. So more than half of OU's NCAA championships have come in the 18 years since Bob Stoops got here.
And you're making that connection because the football program has been so profitable. It's allowed them to have dollars for other coaches.
You know, football funds the athletic department. Everybody knows that, and the money's gotten so high. And if you go down there, the facilities are great. Beautiful new tennis, the golf facility, you know, gymnastics is actually has done great without a opulent upgrade in facilities. They've had good facilities, but gymnastics they could actually even do more. But the softball's fantastic. So they've really spent the money on a variety of sports, not just the football and basketball, and it's paid off.
All right, and Oklahoma State has re-signed its head coach.
Mike Gundy's now the dean of Big 12 coaches, unless you don't count Bill Snyder's 3-year hiatus. Well, then Snyder's the king. But 13 years for Mike Gundy, and this could be his best team. I mean, lots to get excited about. Great offense. Mason Rudolph's back for his 3rd year as the quarterback. So most polls have the Cowboys in the top 10, along with the Sooners. And we've got a Big 12 title game this year, so we could have Bedlam on November 4th and then Bedlam again December down in Arlington.
Who's the best quarterback in the Big 12 starting in the fall?
Well, I think you'd have to say Baker Mayfield, just because of his 2 years of playmaking. He beats people with his legs and his arm. So he's a 2-time top 5 Heisman guy. If he has another top 5 Heisman season, that's the best football career, best quarterback career in OU history. So Baker Mayfield's unbelievable, but Mason Rudolph's right there with him, and he's been phenomenal. I think Mason's touchdown to interception ratio last year was 28-4, so he's a phenomenal player, and that offense is going to be high-powered in Stillwater. Great receivers, got Justice Hill, the tailback returns. Cowboys have it rolling on offense, and they go to Pitt, but they don't play Oklahoma, they don't play Ohio State, so. Cowboys could zoom up the polls pretty quickly.
Once you in the Big 12 get past OU and OSU, not necessarily they'll be 1-2, but once you get past them, talk about the next couple of programs that are likely to be challenging.
Kansas State's always somebody to keep an eye on. Bill Snyder is always dangerous when he has a senior quarterback. 2017, he has a senior quarterback, Jesse Ertz. He's not an NFL caliber guy. He's not anybody that's going to win a Heisman Trophy, but he runs around and makes plays, and he does what his coach wants, and he's got a coach that knows what he's doing. So Kansas State is somebody to keep an eye on. West Virginia appears to have turned the corner in terms of Big 12 success. They took them a while to find their legs in the conference, but last year they won 10 games. I think they're going to be solid. And down at Texas, Tom Herman is new. Anybody that's been around Tom Herman knows that he's sort of got an invigorating spirit. This is not the first time the Longhorns have been excited about a new coach. So I'm not going to get too much on the Tom Herman bandwagon, but he certainly seems like the right fit in Austin. Can they get good quickly? We'll see.
Yeah. ESPN changed sports a lot. Now you have social media. How is the fans' interaction with you? The things you hear from fans, is it any different than it was 10 or 20 years ago?
Yes. Now, I am slow to embrace social media. My colleagues aren't, the guys around the office, but I've always tried to make myself available through just my phone. My phone number is listed in the Oklahoman. That's my cell phone. That's not an office phone. My email. But the social media definitely has connected the media and the readers and the viewers much more than in the past. I don't know that it's any more personal because so much of that is anonymous, so much of it is disconnected. But there is more interaction between media and the fans than ever before.
Barry Tramel's been our guest. Barry's with the Oklahoman and the Sports Animal. Barry, thanks for coming on.
Glad to do it, guys.
Appreciate it very much.
Kent and I'll have a final word after this.
There are now 11 million of us who live here and work here. I was 15 when I came here 6 years ago. I raised my family here. I drive my truck to my job every day. The only difference between now and 6 years ago, I do it legally. I wanted to. Because this is my home.
All children deserve a life of hope and love. but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
We are a very conservative family, and we believe in old-fashioned family values. We have a loving home there, and we love kids, and we had 5, 6 of our own. And but I had no idea we were going to go into adoption, but it's been very gratifying.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. We're wrapping up a show with Barry Tramel, who touched on the Thunder and Oklahoma State football and a couple of other topics.
He can get more good sports information out in less time than anybody that I know of, and he really knows what he's talking about. He's right on the inside of most of what's going on. And
he's touching in on the optimism that fans for the University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State's football teams, as well as Thunder fans, have for the upcoming season. Well, they say hope springs eternal on opening day, and fans are usually optimistic, but there seems like to be some real solid reasons to be optimistic on all of these teams.
Yeah, it's not irrational to be optimistic at this point.
That's right. Thanks to Barry for coming on the show, and we appreciate you coming on and watching us today. We have some website information. You can find more information about Barry at his newspaper's web address, just oklahoman.com. And then we have a website. We'd love for you to log on there and tell us about a guest you'd like to see on a future edition of the show. TheVerdict.tv. TheVerdict.tv is our website. Thanks for joining us. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next time right here.